Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Phil Goff.
Mr. Speaker, I agree with some of what the member who's just resumed his seat has said, but it was a curious analogy with bicycles, wasn't it? That people shouldn't ride bicycles because they'd be better off they'd be more safe in big cars. I'd just like to remind the member that unlike tobacco, bicycles don't kill 50% of the people who use them in the manner in which the manufacturer intends. Tobacco has the unique characteristic, thank you, of actually killing the people who use it in the way that it's intended to be used. And I have absolutely no time for big tobacco, for its selfish, vested interest reasons, coming to this House or sending the message to this House and saying you've got no right to control our product. We've got every right to control that product. They are lucky, Mr. Speaker, that we even tolerate the legality of the product, and frankly, if I thought prohibition worked, then I'd be inclined to support prohibition. But it doesn't, and this at least is a step in the right direction. I want to congratulate the New Zealand First contributor to this debate. I know she was in a very difficult position. I'm sure that she had her leader leaning over her shoulder as she delivered that. They are at least going to support it to the Select Committee. And I want to say this. I hope that New Zealand First takes an evidence-based approach, and Barbara Stewart says that she will, because an evidence-produced response will come up with what the Ministry of Health has found. It says the tobacco packaging has been demonstrated to be a highly effective form of tobacco marketing. Research has indicated that current tobacco packaging glamorises smoking and can mislead users about product safety. Research has shown that the primary role of tobacco packaging is to promote brand appeal, particularly to youth and young adults. With increasing restrictions on tobacco advertising, promotion and sponsorship throughout the world, tobacco packaging has become the tobacco industry's key marketing tool to attract and retain consumers. That is an evidence-based approach. That is why we're supporting this legislation. Not because, Mr. Speaker, we think that it's a silver bullet solution, but together with the other things that have been done, such as increasing the tax and therefore the price of tobacco, such as stopping point-of-sale displays, such as the smoke-free environment bills introduced under Labor governments, we can have a real impact, and that is why smoking is declining, as Shane Ardern said, because we have acted. And I want to congratulate Tariana Turia on this. I think she deserves credit in moving the National Party from its traditional vested interest support for the tobacco industry. And I say that in a rather measured way. It is true, Mr. Young, it is true that the National Party opposed every single measure of tobacco control introduced under the last Labor government. That is a fact, and the members of the National Party in those days should hang their head in shame about that act. Bill English in the 2002 election campaign promised to reverse the Smoke-Free Environment Act if National was elected. Bill English promised to repeal the Smoke-Free Environment Act if he had been elected. Now, no party, Mr. Speaker, in this House today would do anything so crazy or would be so irresponsible. Times have changed, and we're finally taking the action that we need to take. I understand where Tariana Turia is coming from, and the Maori Select Committee that did very good work on this as well. The Maori community disproportionately have been victims of addiction to tobacco. And in supporting this bill, I'm not attacking smokers. Smokers are addicts. Nicotine is an addictive substance. When the tobacco industry is finished promoting the product to get people to use it for the first time, they then sit back and rely on the addictive qualities of tobacco to ensure that those people are hooked in. And we should have sympathy and we should provide support for smokers, but we should provide nothing but condemnation at the tobacco industry's outrageous attempts to allow it to continue to promote a product that is a lethal product. The facts, again, if it's an evidence-based approach, are very clear. Smoking is the single biggest cause of preventable deaths and disease in New Zealand. What is it about that any New Zealander doesn't understand? It kills 5,000 people a year who die directly of smoking-related diseases. It shortens the long-term smoker's life on average by as much as 15 years. That is the reason why this House should take every step that it can to reduce the appeal, to stop the promotion in any way of a product that kills our fellow New Zealanders. And I want to add another condemnation, Mr. Speaker, and it's a condemnation not only of the tobacco industry, but the fellow travellers and the apologists for that industry that would pretend that they can dictate to this country about what we should do in terms of tobacco promotion. And it's a long list. The Emergency Committee for American Trade, the National Association of Manufacturers, the National Foreign Trade Council, the US ASEAN Business Council, the US Chamber of Commerce, and the US Council for International Business. Shame on those businesses that in many other aspects of their work do responsible work, that they should act as apologists for a product that kills people. And they may pretend that the debate is about intellectual property. They may pretend that the debate is about removing barriers to trade. I'm a believer in reasonable protection for intellectual property. I'm a strong believer that we should remove barriers to trade. But neither argument stacks up to defend the promotion of a product that kills people if used as the manufacturer intends. Neither argument stands up. They're red herrings. Those councils, those vested interest groups should butt out of our debate, and New Zealand, as every country does, must have the sovereign right to legislate and to regulate for the public good. Now, there's some question about what the Trans-Pacific Partnership might do in regard to this legislation. I want to say that I've got a letter in front of me signed by the Minister of Trade, and he makes the point, and I rely on his assurance and will hold him to it, that our Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement will be based on the trade agreements, Mr. Speaker, that I negotiated for China and for ASEAN, that do not allow companies, corporates, to succeed in suing New Zealand when we regulate or legislate for the public good, whether it be for the environment, for health, or to do the things that are for the well-being of New Zealanders. I think that the Philip Morris case against the Australian government is a disgrace. The Australian authorities tell me that they will succeed in that case, and we should not lack the courage to confront the vested interests that promote for their own material benefit the peddling of tobacco as a lethal product. We should not be frightened to confront them. We should not be frightened to bring this legislation in at the date that we consider appropriate and to take on those corporates, because we would have the support of the World Health Organization. We would be aligned with the Framework Convention for Tobacco Control. That has been passed internationally by a responsible body, and I don't believe for a moment that another international body, the World Trade Organization, would in the end defend the right of companies to kill people with their products. It just does not stack up. It is not credible. I support this bill. I commend those with the courage to vote for this bill now, and I urge the government to bring it into effect as soon as possible so we can stop that last bastion of promotion of a lethal product by the vested interests of big tobacco.
Scott Simpson.
Mr. Speaker.